it's gonna be.
It's gonna be great.
Okay, settle.
Hi,
Sam.
Josh.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I don't think it has to be that formal.
Thank you for having me in my own house.
Yeah, I'm at your house. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
What's on your mind? What have you been thinking about recently? I watched this thing called Therapy Gecko. I don't know if you know about this. Have you ever seen Therapy Gecko?
As a guy who gets high and goes on YouTube and then
I don't
people
think
call
he gets
in.
high. I think he just dresses up as a gecko.
And people call in.
Yeah. Anyway, he always asks people, what's your most persistent thought? And I love that question.
Oh, my most persistent thought.
Like your most recent persistent thought. Like what's on your,
It's a great question. I mean, my most persistent recent thought. I want to say it, but I just don't want it to come off wrong.
Okay.
The thought is no one knows anything.
Anything at all? Like no one knows
Not anything, but with regards to like the game they're playing in the music industry. Matt Garber, who's my podcast host, we call it Noka. So it's Noka. And daily we send each other things that we see or from clients, which I adore my clients, but we'll say Noka and Noka like 3 times a day to each other. And it's not even, and I even put it when I tell him something, I'll put it after I say something.
Interesting.
And it's a thought idea that after now making records for 10 years, every record is different, every client is different, every situation is different, and everything's always evolving differently. And also mostly no one knows anything to the core of like, you could send the client the same master 3 times and they think it's different. And it's the same thing. But they will swear on their life it's different. And we even do it. Blind tests. People do it all the time where...
Sure. Well, it's
is this better?
It's the tweaking the compressor,
right.
Thinking you're doing it, but it's in bypass.
And it's bypass.
Yeah.
That's a very persistent thought that is so freeing to me.
Okay. That's where I was gonna go with it next. Like, how does that influence... I don't know. I feel like you can almost be like nihilistic about that. Of like...
I don't
because
view
no one knows anything. Nothing like even matters
so
at that point.
You can approach life in those 2 different ways of no one knows anything, and so what's the point of anything? Or that, things are here and gone, so what's the point? But for me, I view it as more of an appreciation, and then like this is all just a big fun game that we get to play however we want. And to me, it's very freeing because I don't feel any pressure, because at the end of the day, I know at this stage, after working with so many people from no names to high ups, like people are just people. Like they just almost all want the same thing, which is like very basic needs met. And that's kind of it. And it's, I don't know, like it's freeing to me to feel like no one knows anything. And it also is empowering in that I really believe you can do anything you want on some level, because I'm a testimony to that. And so are so many other people I know now.
I think, yeah. There's some pushback though. I feel like I want to give of like, do you really believe that no one knows anything though? Like, I feel like there's some things that are like tried, tested, true, that like if you were like, I'm not saying like 100% of the time, but like if I was putting money on something,
I mean, there's things we know.
Like there's some
like there's
level
things
of
I do of like gain staging that I feel like, yes, this works better. And once people figure that out, their end goal is better, or like they achieve what they were going for. But I don't know, like our whole business is so much about like perception. Like it's manipulation. It's manipulation of attention, manipulation of people. I mean, what we do is basically we try to sell a product that that we tell people is good and done and ready to go. That's what I do. I convince people that their record is done and ready to go, and it's not in a slimy way.
That's kind of what we're all, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing as well, right? Like we're all sort of doing that while interjecting, I think, some of our own taste and experience into it.
I would say the thing that helps me not then never settle on anything is like having context and boundaries. So as soon as you get a goal or context or boundary, that gets into like, how do you know when something is done? In my opinion, it has to do with, I know when a record is done once I know the context in which we had to create in and their end goal, be it TikTok sync, label all the above, smash single.
Okay, but I could push back on you then. Like, if no one knows anything, then how do you know it's done, right?
Oh, I agree.
You don't know anything. You don't know that it's done.
Oh, I know I don't. I know I don't know it's done because I know there's an infinite ways it could be mastered. I also know 10 different master engineers could master it. And I would literally say, yeah, all these are good. Put them out. Like it doesn't, I hold all of this now so open-handedly that like I'm happy to say like no one knows anything, and anyone who is, even the statement of me saying that is contradictory of knowing that statement. But I don't want it to feel too heady or like fluffy because it's not really that fluffy and it's not a deep statement.
I mean, it is.
It's an observation.
It is like,
I don't want it to come off as like I'm sitting here trying to like be untangible and fluffy.
Yeah.
Because that's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying it because I think it's very freeing, and it's a big piece of humble pie as well.
It's sort of like, I think it sums up, and it kind of comes back to like I posted the other day, like everything affects everything, which is like something that you and I have talked about before too, where it's like, and that's what I'm constantly trying to explain to people too, of like in a mix or in a master or in anything, in production or in writing or in whatever, art, I guess. Like everything affects everything, you know? It's like you change one thing and everything changes, which I think is kind of almost what you're saying. Like why like nobody knows anything, because it's all conditional.
It's all conditional and personally biased. So like when you land on something,
biased. Well, it's all perspective too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all about, John Mayer did this thing where he said that once, where it's like somebody's perception of like somebody's like reaction to something is more a statement of like their experience with it more than it is about the thing itself.
Right.
Like you can only express like, I see this couch and I only, you know, like it's about the experiences I've had with it, or what I think of when I think of this, not about, it doesn't say anything about the couch itself. It's about what I identify it as.
Totally.
And now it got heady. Now it got now it got fruit. Now it got a little.
Now we're fluffy. It's just the no one knows anything is, when I started this, I wanted to know so much. I wanted to be like,
that's interesting, because that's literally the question people are always wanting to know things.
Right.
Like, you know, my DMs and emails,
Right, exactly.
or people questioning, constantly wanting the answers. And that's like, man, I literally just said that to somebody. Like, I have no interest in answering that, because like there really are
there's no answer.
There's no like
there's context and then maybe an answer within the context. And that's my closest thing to something tangible, which gets into how do you finish a record or finish production is, it's like I talked about, like if you want to make a pizza, there's 80 different ways to make pizza and different types. And you've got to then, if you want a deep dish, you have to make the dough a certain way. If you want a Neapolitan thin, you got to do a certain way. And then you know it's done because you do have context and past experience that this is what a deep dish pizza tastes, feels, looks like, because someone has gone down the experimental road to figure that out, that we can then standing on the shoulders of giants in theory.
Yeah.
But for music, when I started, all I wanted to do was know things, and I assumed everyone knew better than me.
Well, I think that's the hard part. I think that's why artists and musicians and like people like us are maybe wired a little bit differently than like the normal person, right? Because like I think as humans we're wired to want clear black and white answers, you know, and that's counterintuitive to what like art is. Like there's no black or white in art, and I ran into that like the old job that I was at. It was like kind of split between like creative like art and recording stuff, and then the other side of the business was like audio installs, like audio visual stuff, where we like, you know, we needed finite answers in the audiovisual world. Is the speaker going to fit in the ceiling? Is the TV going to hang on the wall? Like, you know, but then you go into the creative side and it's like wide open. Right. And then it was always such an interesting thing that like bridging the gap between the two, and like the day in and day out of like, oh, okay, I'm in a creative heady space today, but tomorrow's like black and white and I have to have the right answers. Otherwise a TV falls off the wall, you know? And it I think it put a lot of that in perspective for me, of being like, oh, wow, there are no real answers in art.
There's no real answers, and there can be two correct answers at one time. And that's the paradox of life in general, is the older I get, the more I can see two things can be right at the same time that are almost contradicting, or they are 100% contradictory to each other. and that's okay. And that's a world people don't like to acknowledge that exists, where it gets into the no one knows anything. And when I started, I wanted to know everything. And then I remember asking people questions. It would have been like me asking me something. Like I would have sought me out 10 years ago and asked me something. And I would have given, I guess what I'm saying is like, there have been people in my life that have said things like, this is how you do it. And some of those things are literally scarring to where like they created terrible habits.
Interesting.
Like there was a high up mixer I got to work with, great records. I mean, taught me, as usual in life, taught me 99% great things, but said 1% thing that was, your records sound too happy. And I was like,
that's what he said to you?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, crap.
What does that even mean?
Exactly. What does it mean?
I don't know, but it's still here. The stupid thing, too, is like, again, everything affects everything. Like, that dude could have been drunk that day.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, he could have just been like, this Sam kid, he's annoying.
Right.
Shut up. Your records are too happy.
Yeah.
Like, you're too happy, Sam, is what he really was saying.
I know. Like,
yeah,
I'm a peppy person. Yeah. He's not.
Yeah.
And, like...
That's funny.
And there are things...
And now you're, here you are 10 years later, like, still being like, is this record too happy? Oh, no.
That's when people seek me out. It happened yesterday. Someone was like, I need your honest opinion on this song that I sent you. It sounds terrific. I love it. You said you like it, but what's your honest critique of it? And I was just like, I can't answer. I don't want to say anything. Like, because when you are looking for answers and looking, especially in this industry, we've romanticized.
You're basically asking for trauma. When you ask questions like that, you're basically just saying, like, hurt me for the next 30 years.
And you're asking because you assume that what they're doing is more correct than what you're doing in a world that really has no tangible proof that one way is better than another. Like, we know that. That's why that's the freedom of, like, we all, in theory, can exist, because there's a bajillion master engineers and we all would master the song differently. And once again, most of them could come out and be great. And you could debate, if you lined them all up and you had the client sit in front, maybe they would pick one. But then it's
that
even
still
their
says
bias.
more about what they
like
to hear, their perspective on a record of like, they are used to hearing really bright records that like blister their ear.
Correct.
Like, it is interesting. I mean, I think artists in general might need to hear that and like accept that more, I think, because I think artists
trust yourself.
Well, not even trust yourself, but like it's all you have. Like, like that's all you have. Like Rick Rubin's been on that spiel recently where he's like, if you're making something for the audience, like you've already missed. Like you've already, because like how do you know what the audience doesn't even know what they want, right? Like, so how are you creating for something that like you're already missing? Like, you can only create for yourself, essentially.
I agree, and that's my whole career is I've mastered records how I wanted. And I early on, after spending like 3 years of chasing everyone else's sound and signal chain and trying to figure out they must know a secret or something, I told my wife, because I was just so stressed and felt like all my records felt like no consistency, and I didn't like most of what I was making, even though some people liked it. But I just told her, like, if this is going to work, it has to 100% work how I want it to work. So that means even from like a scheduling, like, I want to work this amount of hours, I want to make this amount of money. So it's either going to work like that or it's not, or I'm going to leave this and just get a 9-to-5, work my way up the corporate ladder in 10 years and make $200,000 like in Nashville. It was just a flat, very simple of like, and that's what I feel
made
like,
the black and white.
Yeah.
You made it.
Yeah.
You said it has to be this way or no way. Correct.
Yeah.
So you put boundaries around it in a way.
Right.
That's interesting. And it sort of segues into a conversation that you and I started to talk about outside of this conversation, like a week or two ago, that somebody on Instagram had asked me, you know where I'm going with this, where like, somebody posed the question where it was like, at what point do you accept as a creative, let's say an artist, mixer, master, like whatever, let's just say creative. You could be a painter, I guess, in this conversation. Like, at what point do you accept, like, okay, I did the thing. I'm watching Biggie not knock things over. Okay, I did the thing. I had a good run, but it's not working out for me. Right. I'm gonna call it, and I'm gonna go get a job and just walk away. Like, what does that look like? I have thoughts on it because I kind of responded to it, but I'm curious what you're saying is playing into that, I guess. But
I think it just has to do with what your goal is and how happy you are with your life. Like that's when I try to help people, it's always, are you like a happy whole human? Biggie. Like, I'm not doing anything weird.
Back. He's like, I'm fine. I'm chilling.
I would say that for that, it's about like quality of life. So, and expectations. Because when I started this, there's never been a plan B. Like there really hasn't. And I just decided many moons ago with my wife, like it's gonna work how I want it to work. And there's no plan B, but if it doesn't work, then I'll just get a different job. But that wasn't part of a plan B at the theory. Like I was going.
Yeah. I mean, that's still kind of
it's a theory. Yeah. A plan B.
Yeah. It's kind of in theory is the like, if I have to give up, like.
Yeah. It was more so if I can't create how I want to create and profit, then I'll get a job that still allows me to create in that same way.
Okay. All right.
So
that's a little more clarity.
I would never be quitting in theory. Like, and it's still how I tell it. I mean, it's why I still do hip hop and I'm an amateur rapper. Like, I will never.
Amateur.
Well, I don't want to say never, but I've accepted that my fate as a hip hop artist is very low. And I don't push it. And it's like, but I still do it because I really enjoy it. And I'm not going to quit it. But like for a tangible person of like, if you've been doing it 10 years, there's a few things you could think about. One would be, do you feel like you're getting better at all? Like at all? Is there any tangible, and this is where a lot of people screw up, is they don't measure any sort of return on interest.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Keep going.
So they will look back on 6 years and be like, man, I haven't gotten anywhere. Well, where's anywhere? Most people don't know.
Good point.
They have no tangible 6 years ago. What did you write down 6 years ago to this date where you go on whatever, February?
Are you even halfway there?
20th.
10% there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to be here.
at all. Yeah.
So for those that don't have tangible measurements, what you're saying then is invalid. You're just having an emotional moment where you're like, I suck, nothing's happening.
Well, but also if you didn't start measuring though either,
right.
Like I think that's the problem too, is like you have to, like you can't look back 10 years from now and then measure, right? Like you kind of have to start, because otherwise if you look back, you'll never be happy either. Whereas like if you set a goal and then look back at it and be like, oh yeah, I shattered that goal, or I didn't quite get there,
That gets into like it's circled back to like context and boundaries is so important to me in everything in my life, because it's for me the only way I can measure almost like happiness on some level, or like, am I headed in the right direction?
That's a dangerous statement.
It's like
measure happiness.
Yeah, but that's to me when people are like, I think I'm not making progress, or like this isn't working. I always ask them like, well, what does working look like? And usually for most people, it's like what I preach online. Like, usually just circles back to like everybody's like, I just want to make money. I want money. And that's great. I love money. It's awesome. It allows you to create or have coffee or whatever. Have a house. But that for most people, when I talk to them, they just want money. And it's like, there's a lot of ways to make money outside of music, or there's a lot of ways to make money in music. So, and once again, it's like you need a tangible then of what amount of money do you need to make? And most people don't know either. They're I don't know.
I think I want to circle back a little bit to the circle back. Who am I?
Yeah.
What am I? Back. Yeah. What is this like? I'm running some HR meeting right now.
If you circle back, you're back to where you were.
I do this on Zoom. Anyway, no, like to you as a rapper, because I think a lot of the point that I have. Can you like spit a bar right now? No, I'm just kidding. That would be so weird.
On the spot. See, that's why I'll never make it a rapper. I'm not freestyle.
But that's kind of exactly my point that I wanted to get to, is like, I think there's a level of, and that's kind of what I answered on Instagram when somebody asked me this, was like, there's a level of ambition I think that people don't always measure with having, let's say, a goal, right? Like, I think you, with the rap thing, is a great like example of that, where to be a famous rapper, yes, there's a million ways of going about it, but there's also like kind of a clear like set of things you probably have to do.
100%.
You probably have to play shows. You probably have to like have an entourage. You probably have to like
play the game.
You got it. You probably have to smoke a bunch of weed and like, get in some gang fights.
Right.
I don't know. We're the two whitest people talking about.
You have to like, you have to join the path, the culture, the community.
Totally. But my point being with that is like, somebody might sit there and be like, I want to be a rapper, because they like look at the clout of it.
Right.
But then like, 5-6 years later, they're like, I'm not a rapper. And it's like, well, yeah, because your level of ambition wasn't aligned with the idea that
Right.
you were willing to do those things.
Correct.
And like, unless you did those things, like, of course you're not going to be a rapper. So like the same thing is like somebody who might say like, well, I want to get a Grammy and like, I'm going to give up now because like I just don't, I've been doing it for 5 or 6 years and like I'm not going to do a Grammy or I'm not going to get a Grammy, it's just I don't see it coming. And it's like, yeah, but like if that's really what you want to do, you probably have to move to LA.
Right.
You probably have to do X, Y, like
you need to
and
get
if you have a
people to vote
family and the
for you.
reality is that you're like never going to move to LA, like you have to measure that and then go like, okay, well the Grammy's not going to happen, but I can maybe make a full-time living from this. Like what are the steps that I need to do towards that? And I guess it comes back to what you're saying of like the measurability of it. But also being realistic about what needs to be done to do it. Like I think some people just think like, oh, if I just like work hard enough in some podunk town in Georgia or something, like a Grammy will come my way, if I do good enough work. And it's like, if that's really the goal, probably not. Or
probably
like
not. The product is easy. Like that's the other thing, like doing this long term is like making the music is the easy part. Like when you first start, making the music feels daunting, or like sonically you can just listen to it and be like, this isn't as good as hit record that I'm comparing it to. But as you get going, like making records sound great is something I do in my sleep now. Like it's not a challenge to do that. And I think that's kind of like the professional when you reach that level of,
well, that's like a reps thing. I think.
It's a
like
reps
that's like
thing,
that's like going to the gym. The first time you lift 100 pounds is like impossible, and then.
But that's what it goes back to. No one knows anything. Like no one knows the game they're playing, which is like you have a song that's great, that's awesome. It's like having a great T-shirt that you made, or like any product. And if you want to then compete in the music industry, that's all about making money. Then you have to sell. Like you have to be great at sales in the music industry. That's why I'm where I'm at. Like I'm good at selling. I'm good at closing. I'm good at bringing peace of mind. And I'm also good at my craft at this stage. And that's for me, like most people don't understand having the product or the talent isn't enough. And it's never been enough. Like people romanticize like, oh, back in the day, you could just be a great singer and get famous. It's like, no, there was still so much competition. There was still labels shelving records, dropping people. Watch that thing you do. Like there's always been a competition and people come and go. Like that's how it's always been. That's how life is. Life, everything in life is that.
Yeah. It's just interesting. I think you're very, whereas most people don't just measure things, and that's a big part of it though, I think. And like, it's just funny because I'm thinking like, I was listening to like, Rob Dyrdek, his like,
oh yeah. He has a spreadsheet for his life.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like the way that he, like when I first heard that, and then he like looks at like the pie charts of like where like his time is spent and like how he's like using it, and is that like valuable where it was, and then how he could like optimize it. Like it's all about optimizing, right? So it's like you can't optimize something that you're not measuring, right? And that's the interesting, like,
Well, why the interesting thing about all of that is I've harped about it because it's changed my life, is like the freedom is in the discipline. Like the freedom most people want. I want money, or I want to be able to be a rapper.
The discipline's the hard thing though. Like that's the hardest thing you can do.
It is.
That's the hardest. Like making a record is very easy, but the discipline, like it's everything else around it that is like the hard thing. That's also everything else around it's what gives you the career, right?
Correct.
Like that's what gives you the like thing.
Right. And that's where people succeed or not. Like, it's you either decide you want to do it and run it as a business because that's what it is, or you don't. Like it's the same. I've had the same conversation 1,000 times probably in 10 years. Like it happens multiple times a week now where people are basically saying like, how do I make this work? It's like why I do mentoring. My mentoring sessions are almost identical. It could be someone here or someone in Sweden that I'm mentoring, and they all have the same problem, which is consistency, consistent clients, aka how do I get more money? That's it. And so we always start with budget. We always I ask for people like, what are you making? What do you want to make? Don't bullcrap me. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. We figure that out. They have to talk to their wife or their partner. A lot of people have families who have been doing it a long time and are going, do I need to give this up or not? And then we have to figure out reality of like, is this really doable? Like you're saying, like you may not be able to move to LA. You may not be able to move to Nashville.
Yeah.
This may not work as a career. And that's,
see, I would disagree with that. I think there's always ways to find it, but I think you have to be brutally honest about it. And I think some people aren't ever going to be willing to be brutally honest enough to say like, I can't move to LA. I can't do this. I can't do that. Okay, then, but there's where your thing, where like now there's freedom in knowing, well, what can we do? Okay, you can't do that, but like, maybe we could teach lessons, or maybe you could do a YouTube thing, or maybe like, and it's going to take time and it'll take sacrifice to like grow and build. And that's what I say to people too, is like, they want it overnight a lot of times, you know? And it's like,
I mean, it's,
you look at careers and it's like, you look at any business that starts and it's like, most businesses are in the red for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
If your business is profitable in the first 5 years, that is an anomaly.
Correct.
Like that does not, and even businesses, people don't understand how businesses run in general either.
I know.
Most high level businesses are like bleeding money most of the time. Like big, like Pepsi.
Right.
Like they're not profitably rich, like saving kids in Africa. You know, that's why it's always funny when like even like people go to, you know, Elon Musk or something, and they're like, you're so rich. Like, and it's like, it's not just,
he's not rich.
They're not sleeping on beds of thousands of dollar bills. Like,
he is rich, but it's, people don't understand net worth. They don't understand assets. They don't understand those numbers you see are like a fake projection of if he happened to liquidate literally everything, fire everyone, sell everything.
Nobody knows anything.
Yeah, no one knows anything.
Nobody knows anything.
That's my thing, is no one knows anything. And the acknowledgement of that is A, freeing, but B, then you can educate yourself to know something.
Well, that's like, I mean, we're getting fluffy again, but like, that's why
life is
again,
fluffy.
Rick Rubin just put that book out. So he's doing like a ton of like interviews and whatever, but like, have you ever heard him talk about why he loves pro wrestling so much?
No.
He loves pro wrestling because like his theory is like, it's actually more real life than real life. Because like, you know, wrestling is fake, right?
Right. Yeah.
So because you know it's fake and scripted, you know it's like real.
There's an acceptance.
Whereas everything else, you don't know if it's fake or scripted. Like we were just watching the Super Bowl was like last week, right? And like, you know, like I'm sitting there with like my roommate and we're like, do you think this is like planned? Like, do you think somebody knows who's going to win already? And like, this is scripted, like the whole thing. And I was like, I don't know, mate. Like, you don't, you know, so it's like, and then it's like, are we living in a simulation? You know, it's crazy.
It's fine. Either way, it's fine.
A little too fluffy for
I mean, it could be
8 a.m. right now.
It could be simulated or not. And it whenever I approach the existential, because I've been through the rabbit hole and found the rabbit hole in the rabbit hole, you just have to land on, well, you're here now, so what do you want to do?
Sure.
Like, what do you want to do? Is it a simulation? I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that is that going to? I think the denial of the present and the reality that you are here wherever you are. People like simulation theory and all of that because it gets them off the hook. That's my opinion. Like virtual reality, all of this, where we're headed, is a cry for people denying. They don't want to look at reality, which is, for our generation and below, like, we don't like to acknowledge discipline. We don't like to acknowledge that things are hard, that instant gratification is really not real, honestly. It's not. It's fake. It's not true gratification. Once you experience gratification, you realize instant gratification is not what it is. It's a hijacking of a word.
I mean, that's the hard part with like society and our culture right now, though, because I mean, we're all dopamine addicts. Like we're like now more than ever. I mean, we are like,
I don't think I am, honestly.
Sure. I mean,
because discipline.
You're not. Yeah, discipline. You've gotten out of that, but like the large majority of us are just addicted, like straight up addicts.
I used to be that way, and I'm not, and it changed my life. Acceptance of reality is key to happiness, and I think all this talk about when simulation theory, I mean, it was the Matrix, and before, I mean, it's not new, but it's the embracing and the popularity of these theories all comes down to, I think people are unhappy in their current life, so the idea that it's no one knows anything makes you feel semi better. It's an emotional response to an emotional problem that slightly makes you feel better for a moment, and then you can spiral and be like, oh shoot, like if this is that, then nothing means everything, or what is this, or like you can go down the existential path. And I think the more you're willing to dive into reality, to this, like one-on-one, or to your life or to yourself, like get to know yourself, the more I know for a fact, like the more grounding, the more peace, the more happiness you'll experience in life. And then all those questions, those existential things, like I spent years in therapy going through that, and like they lose their power and they lose their purpose. It just doesn't matter. Like, that's why I say, like, regardless of what you believe in, you're here right now. Like someone watching this, like you're consuming this.
The power
and like,
now.
yeah, what do you want to do right now? You're here, so what do you want to do now? Because that is like the only thing that I think we could, if I was to say there's a universal truth, it's that is the power of now, or the idea that this is all in theory we have outside of, you get into like multiverse or parallel verse, but all that once again is kind of like so fluffy that it's like, do you want to spend your whole energy in your life doing that, or do you want to like have a conversation? Do you want to cook a pizza? Do you want to make a song? Do you want to exist now, as opposed to worrying about like, is someone going to hit delete on my character? Like, you know, like, I don't know. Like the answer is, I don't know. But do you want to do
Nobody
something
knows
now?
anything.
Yeah, no one knows anything. And it should be freeing instead of scary. For a long time, it was scary.
What do you think's the weirdest thing about yourself?
About myself?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. The weirdest thing about myself? I wish you had my wife in here. She'd give you a list of 20 things. The weirdest thing about myself, my goodness. What do I do that's weird?
It doesn't have to be something you do.
I guess it doesn't have to be
It
tangible.
could be just...
The weirdest thing about myself, you got me in a stumper here because I'm trying to think of a good one.
It's a pretty fun question to think about, right?
Like, don't want to disappoint, but that's like just my ego talking. So, the weirdest thing.
Maybe what if you pose it in the way of like, what do you think is the most, what are you the most insecure about?
What am I most insecure about?
Do you think those things go hand in hand? There's a question.
Possibly. The insecurity thing is I want people to like me. I know that for a fact. Like that's something that's Enneagram 3, like affirmation and worthiness through completing things.
So you are a 3?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a achiever, and that gets even into now it's all a blessing. It used to be a curse because I needed people to like me. Even like I would have done something like this and been like, I wonder what people are going to think. I hope they think I'm cool. I don't care anymore. Like, it's saying like this outfit I put on for me. Like, I like everything I'm wearing. I don't care about if you like it or the audience. Like, it's like
there's a place. Yeah, I mean, there's a level of power.
So that's part of my insecurity would be like, I used to really want everybody to like me, and it still comes up sometimes here and there, but it's not. I don't know. I almost feel like I'm not insecure anymore. But that took like 8 years of self-work. So that's that. I used to be really insecure about my body, but not anymore either. The weirdest thing, gosh, I love that question. And I'm just like rolling around in my head. The weirdest thing.
We could table it. We'll save it.
Let's table it because I know something will come out of the abyss here.
Think on it for there's your take it with you.
My subconscious will figure it out. I keep thinking of like some weird things I do.
I don't know that I have an answer. Like if you were to ask it back to me, I don't know that I could really answer it either. I forget where it popped in my mind recently, or somebody was talking about something, and I was like, I wonder.
I know there's one. Okay, so there's one thing. I'm a mumbler, like not this.
Okay,
but like I have sidebar conversations all the time, like commentary. So like a lot of my close friends that we hang out with, and there's a bunch from my original hometown that live here now. People, the weirdest thing they'll say is like, I will literally be watching something happening and I'll be like, that guy's doing that. Like like literally like a commentary, and people find it very funny, I'll say. But I am constantly like making commentary about things that I'm observing. And also I'm wildly sarcastic in the commentary. It's my brain like just starts coming out.
It's kind of a fun. You ever do that where you're just like sitting in a public place and like you know nothing about like the person sitting over there, and you're like, let's make up like me,
right?
Me
Which isn't even. I'm saying that out loud. It's like probably not even that weird.
But who do you think they are? What are they doing right now? What are they fighting about?
Right.
And you're like, it's like, all right, you be her and I'll be him. You know, and it's like you make up like a little.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a fun little. That's an exercise.
But yeah,
to do
I know
if you're bored.
I know like within my friend group, they always mention that of like. People like to sit by me at dinner or something and just listen to me mumble. And if you ask my wife, like, she literally be like, yeah, Sam talks literally all day long and I don't hear 98% of it.
You're just talking to yourself.
I'll talk to myself or like seeing the shit. Like I'll watch something on TV and make comments on it, which is, I don't know what that means, but I like to observe and then speak about it.
Observer. You are an observer. I'll give you that. Like,
Yeah.
even in music, I feel like you observe incredibly well.
Thank you.
I mean,
It's a skill.
yeah, like, and I think, yeah, but there's a skill in observing that, like, you're comprehending too.
Right.
Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, I saw that. Or like, I feel like so many people have like watched like a million movies.
Right.
But they don't get them. Like, they didn't get it. Whereas I feel like you like get it, you know?
Yeah.
And you can comment on it in like
Right.
like an intellectual
It's
sort of like,
I like
to, you consume it, but you also process it.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Like
I mean, but that sounds basic, I feel like, but that's like a skill, I think.
It is. It's something I've developed by, sometimes I'll write about it, or I'll just in meditation, once again, not fluffy, like just sitting quietly for, I sit quietly 10 minutes a day and like just ponder something, it's the garbage men coming.
How do you get out of that though?
Out of what?
How do you not just get stuck in the loop of pondering or of,
so you're going to hate the answer. I set a timer.
Set a timer
That's
and
what I
then just
do.
move on.
Yeah, I just move.
Interesting.
What's interesting is like sometimes I'll talk to people about like how I schedule and time things, and they think your life's like so rigid, you have no flexibility. But I feel like I have like unlimited flexibility on some level, because I like these structural things, but at the same time, if you take them away, like now having a kid and stuff, like the schedule's always changing, and it doesn't throw me for a loop. Well, it's just shifting around.
Just discipline again.
Yeah.
We're back to the discipline thing.
I don't know how I don't get stuck is like I'm just now like the last like 5 years finally came to a place of like, well, I can either keep thinking about this or I can go do something. Like I want to go golf, so I'm going to go do that instead. Yeah. It's just like a priority. Like what I like to, I'm always asking myself, like, how do you really want to spend your energy here? And like my wife and I do that too. If we're debating something and going around in circles, we'll kind of both look at each other like, do you want to keep spending your energy on this?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's yes. It's like, yeah, I would like to hash it out 12 more times.
Yeah.
Because I need to get this out or do this. Or sometimes we're like, I joke about it. I'm like, well, we're not getting divorced over this one. Like, and then it's like, put the cup away, like this isn't going to be the deal breaker for me. Is it for you? No. Okay. You want to get dinner? Okay. Yeah. And like, I don't know. It's a face of reality. Like everything I'm saying now, I'm thinking about it, is just like, here's reality. Like I'm not going to divorce you over this. So I can either change, you can change. It'll probably be me just changing and viewing this as not a problem. This isn't a problem.
Yeah.
I've made it a problem because of the way I'm conditioned or the way I think you're disrespecting me for some reason, and that gets into like, my wife's never doing things to hurt me and I trust her, but sometimes it feels that way. And that's for my own insecurities.
Sure.
Like wanting to be affirmed or viewed as worthy.
It's your own perception.
Yeah, it's my own perception. To your own. Right. Perception and projection. But yeah, I don't know. I get in and out of things, and it's all of this is practice. Like I try to tell people that, like, you're seeing me like 12 years into self-work. Like I'm speaking about things that
this isn't you didn't wake up Monday morning.
I didn't watch a video and I didn't wake up like this. Like I wish I had documented college, Sam. So you can see how unorganized and lack of discipline and searching and like trying to figure out what am I doing and all these things like most of us do in our life or for a long period. But yeah, it's you're catching. I always tell people like you're catching me in my prime.
Catching me in my prime.
Yeah, catching me in my prime right now. And I might be in my prime forever is what I say now.
I was going to say, I mean, is there like a prime? Is it going to go downhill
after
this?
I don't think so. But I think you're catching me at
something bad could happen and you could spiral. You could
spiral. It could. That's a reality.
Call that spiraling.
Right.
You have a couple bad days in a row and you spiral.
Yeah. Now I don't even view bad as bad.
I've seen you go through a lot though that like you could have spiraled and you didn't spiral.
I have spiraled though. See, this is the thing.
Yeah, maybe like spiral for like 10 minutes though.
No. I spent like a lot of years when I first got to town. So I've been here, I think 10 years this February. And the first few years were terrible. That's when I like went into therapy and had like diagnosed panic disorder, depression, all that.
Yeah.
And I spent like a good 3 years figuring out who am I? What am I doing here? What is this? What is this thing of life? And I spiraled hard because like my wife, she went through it. It's probably some of the worst times in our marriage. It was like the existential crisis of like, is this real? Like there were times where I literally told my wife, I'm like, I don't even know if you're real.
I don't know if you're real.
Yeah, like I would tell her that. Like I'd be like,
wow.
I was like, you don't understand right now. I don't even know if you're real or not.
That could be a compliment though.
It could be, yeah. Compliment.
Depending how you frame that one.
Yeah.
She could have been like, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you even real?
Yeah. And it used to freak me out to not have, this is like the seeking of assurance. Like, and the only thing in life we know is like the acceptance that life is unpredictable. And like you can kind of land on a place where you go, I can never almost know anything 100%, but I'm comfortable with the assurance that I think this is correct.
I feel like you undermined this whole conversation by starting it off with nobody knows anything. And then like, now everything is just like, nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows anything.
Nothing's real.
Nothing's real. Yeah, but the thing, that's why I don't want it to be that way because I think everything is real. That's the thing. Everything is real. This is real. Your dreams were real. Whatever's next is real. It's all real.
To you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's my truth. And I like it.
How do you think the world's going to end?
Ooh, how do I think the world's going to end? Well, I think it's already ended multiple times, but.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Like ended multiple times.
Yeah. It's a nice little like universe has expanded and then it collapses and then expands and collapses. It happens over and over again. So I think it'll eventually self-implode on itself. And the world will end, but it'll restart. I think we're in a cycle today. As of now, that's what I think. I'm okay with that. How do I think it'll end though? Like more tangibly?
Or this time around? I don't know.
I think civilization will end before that happens though again. Because that's like a bajillion year cycle. So humans see, but this
bajillion
gets in,
specifically. Or
yeah, like, bajillion is a tangible measure.
Okay.
That I saw on
is
YouTube.
That how you measure things?
Yeah,
Sam measures things, but just using fake numbers.
Bajillions helps me achieve my goals quicker. It's like Kevin. I
use a made up system.
Kevin in the office makes up numbers to make the balance sheet look correct. That's what I do. That's why I'm so happy. I'm like, well, that zero's over there. And then that zero is actually an F.
Nothing's real anyway.
1F20-1. That's
you
what I
did start this with nobody knows anything.
Correct. But the universe ending, funny. Like, I think that happens over like billions of years. But I'm very concerned about. I don't know how concerned I am, but I think humans will eventually just we'll kill ourselves on accident. Honestly, but there might be a shift in where we become robots before that. Or at least cyborgs. Yeah. And then that'll get into an evolution to people just being in the cloud, and then something will happen, like the power gets unplugged, and I don't know, like none of that freaks me out anymore either. Like it just, I don't know how it's going to end, but I know this is, okay, oh my gosh, something I think about a lot.
Okay.
I got it. The real answer, I mean, no one knows anything is 100% definitely something I think about all the time. But the other big one lately has been, if we have so much technology and we have so much progress, why is everything, I think I know why, but why is everything seem more expensive and like more difficult? Like why?
Capitalism.
Like, yeah, I know.
He said I knew the answer.
I know the answer because I play the game.
Because people are greedier than ever. That's right. Why, yeah.
But this is something I think about. You wanted to talk about something I think about a lot. This is something I think about and keeps me up at night. One of the very few things that keeps me up for like 20 minutes, and then I'm good. But it's the idea that our age group and below is like we're too far behind financially and from a power system, in that the gap, the way capitalism works and most of our world works, not just the US, is time and compound. So the further away you are born from the people who are in power currently and have money. I'm not against money and power either. I'm for proper distribution of it. But it's generations now that are trying, it's like you trying to buy a house. Like I bought a house, I bought this house that It's half the price 3 years ago.
Sure.
So that was attainable.
This one already?
Yeah, it's already doubled. So that's great.
What, doubled?
Yeah.
I hate Nashville. Anyway,
No, it's
talking.
great. It's capitalism.
Well,
So you need to know the game you're playing. If you
No,
know
no,
the
yeah,
game
yeah.
you're playing,
Totally.
it's all great. What I'm saying though
I
is
have a
like,
pushback on this, but keep
I
going.
have a fear of like we are in an unsustainable. The way our economy works is unsustainable. It works for the last like 60 years.
Yeah.
And that's really just when like pension and 401k became a real thing is recent. And so my parents, 70-year-olds, boomers, shout out boomers, they were in the golden era of the economy.
But how do you factor in, I know where you're going with all this, I don't mean to cut you off, but like,
You gonna eat my pillow?
how do you factor in the idea of like technology and like the idea that not
Technology is making everything worse
Yeah, but it's also giving
from an economic standpoint.
so much more opportunity for anybody and
But
anyone to
opportunity-
do anything.
You're
Like
100%
nobody, like
correct.
our parents and grandparents didn't have that. Like they didn't
Right.
have that opportunity to
Right.
like
Come on, bud.
do it. Like, and now it's just a matter
Yeah,
of
but opportunity it's like potential. It doesn't matter. Like
well, it's
it
potential
doesn't-
if you, but sure, it's
it
potential.
doesn't
but
have a return. There's no tangible return of
but it
opportunity
has
until you
potential.
engage
So when
in
you,
it.
but when you activate that potential and
Right.
take it,
Right.
the select few who will,
Right.
that's
Right.
that's what I think didn't exist years ago. Although maybe there was potential years ago, it was just harder. But like, I don't know.
I don't think it was harder, honestly, like the Gary Vee thing. Like, you'll have it so easy. You don't understand. Like, you're a fucking idiot. Like,
Yeah,
like some of what he says is very correct, but at the same time, like what I'm saying about like the golden era of the boomers. So back when stocks, not when they were just getting started, but 30, 40 years ago, companies that were existing then were like not guaranteed to succeed, but there wasn't competition like there is today. And there wasn't the ability to just create Coca-Cola. Like
Sure.
you and I could create a soda company tonight.
yeah,
50 years ago, no way. You couldn't. You could not do that.
I see.
And
I see
so
what you're saying, yeah.
back when like my dad started investing, when he like read some newsletter from Bob Brinker, shout out Bob Brinker, genius. He's like 75. You couldn't miss. You could put your money in almost anything that was available outside of like being an idiot like Wolf of Wall Street and buying into like penny stocks and being swindled, which was part of this problem. But overall, you couldn't miss in anything you put your money in, where now you can miss way more. We know statistically you're going to miss way more now than you win.
Sure. Well, it goes back to almost what we were saying, where like everything's inflated, people,
Right.
companies are bleeding, like
It's not
because
just
we've allowed
inflation,
people to
it's-
live on
it's
such a
the amount of things we have to consume and invest into now. It's way harder to make. I see both sides. Like, but I'll say for most people my age and below, like it's so daunting to ever think you'll have enough money, and it's so daunting to think that you'll ever own a house. And there's a reality too. This is like what keeps me up at night, is like there's truth, and like you might be too far behind. Like you might be too far behind to ever be able to afford 20% down or even like pay your rent, because things are inflating.
yeah.
But we have a problem that like the old people are not the problem. I love old people. But there's a problem with the way our economy functions and the world functions, in that compound interest and capitalism, which I am all for, honestly, it's too far ahead of where you and I are at. So if you started investing today, $1,000, you know,
Yeah.
but one of our parents has invested for 30 years. Once you get to this tipping scale where your money is just compounding ridiculously, it will always beat out.
Yeah.
We're all behind.
It's exponential.
Yeah,
not-
it's like the simple,
Yeah,
like you've probably seen on Instagram, if you follow any money accounts, like Joe invests for 10 years from 20 to 30 and lets it sit, where, you know, Matt invests for 30 years, but later in life and doesn't have as much time. Like Joe compounded for 40 years, you know, the other guy compounded for 30 and had to invest 30 years to even come close, but he still failed. So there's an issue right now with the way things are set up, even with the housing market, like where things are compounding way too quickly now because of technology. Technology is moving too fast for humanity. That is like a big issue. I love technology, but I have an acknowledgement
too fast for humanity.
that technology is moving way too fast for humanity, and it's creating like opportunity and wealth too quickly for humanity, in my opinion.
That's an interesting.
And that will be the thing.
Okay, but what's
that ends America?
But it's
Potentially.
Play that out more though. It's creating too much.
It's gonna. I mean, on the basic form, it creates a wealth gap that's too broad. That's what's going to keep happening. Like my daughter, well, she'll honestly be fine, I think. But for most,
I'm going to set her up for the future.
Yeah, because I set her up and I have plans.
My rap career is really going to take off.
My rap career will take off. I can't. Biggie's being so funny over here. He likes to dig, but this is a lot.
He found some. He's got the gold.
But like a lot of people who are not playing the capitalism game, are going to struggle, and their kids are going to struggle. They're going to have no money. Like even people that get into 401ks, those 401ks are usually calculated for a burn rate to basically when you die, you're broke. So you leave nothing.
Sure, yeah.
Like your burn rate on your investment is 4%. It'll have to be like 8% for inflation. So you're going to run out of money from 65 to 80, and you're going to die with no money. Like, and whether that matters or not is up to you, but we are headed, I can see it. We can trace it like for the last 10 to 15 years. I can see it from when I was like 16 to now 35, like it's almost 20 years. And when I started like to kind of understand just like basics of mutual funds or things of that nature, like the gap is widening too quickly on like everything.
Yeah.
That's what I see ending like America potentially.
I mean, I think a lot of things can end America. But so what do you like? I don't know.
How do you solve it?
Sure. Well, not solve it.
Assets. Passive income.
Sure. So what do you
hustle.
Okay, what do you tell a 22, 23-year-old kid in regards to all this? Like trying to make art too. Like let's bring art back into this. Okay. Like 22, 23-year-old kid, let's say they're creative. Let's say they're halfway good, you know. I don't know. Okay, we're using good and bad again.
That's fine.
Matter.
I'm fine with like, let's say it's
potential, somewhat driven. Like what do you do with all this sort of like weird thing we're in? Like,
I think I love to break it down to tangibility. Like you need to make some goals. Super simple. You need to have a budget. Like what do you spend? Where's your money go? Mm-hmm. And then it comes down to like most people just don't know what they want. So it's a hard question of like, who is this kid and what's he trying to do? Is he trying to be
there's
Justin
an amazing
Bieber?
question. How do you answer what you want? And I think that's a hard question like to answer because with the internet, again, technology, like you could almost do or be anything. So like how do you get like how would you
I can only
navigate that sort of thing around like somebody who's like I'm interested in a lot of things. And like I resonate with that because like I like a lot of things.
Well, I am too.
Recording, music, production, art, photography, video stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Plants.
I'm trying. Yeah, coffee. Like, so like,
right.
I don't know. How do you get to the core of somebody who's like, no, like, what do you really want?
Right.
You know?
I think that's a facing a reality because a lot of people, when they realize what they want, that's why they don't make change because they're scared of it. A lot of people eventually realize what they want is not anything what they've created. So that's a very scary place to bump into. Right.
Yeah.
And I've been there. Like I did it. I've done it a few times, I think from my 20s to 35 now, of like you bump into things that you were so sure this is what you wanted. And then you realize it was just like ego and pride or the desire to be affirmed or to be viewed as worthy, you know? And I think you gain clarity on what you really want by taking time you have to get to know yourself first, which most people don't do. Because within yourself, there's things that you may not like, and that's scary. And I understand that. And then you have the choice to like go deeper into that and understand why you're scared of it. And then you'll usually realize it's not as scary as you thought. And then if you seek out expert help or community, then you find out that everybody's already been through that. There's someone somewhere, or thousands of people, if I've learned anything, and like counseling is like, it's not the same nuance, but most people have been through almost everything. And that, I think, is where like true wisdom.
I mean, nothing new under the sun, essentially.
It's true.
It's like a,
Right.
you know.
So like for the 22-year-old starting out, it's like set some expectations, get to know yourself, spend some time in silence. If you spend 10 minutes in silence, you'll immediately figure out what's bubbling in your brain. And you may not like it, but the more you do that, the more calm it gets over time. Like the first time I meditated, I basically had a full anxiety attack because I couldn't sit there.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't even control my brain. I can't remember.
It was terrible. Crazy. Like such a simple thing. Sometimes it's like, no AirPods, no phone.
Well, yeah, I know.
It's turn hard. The computer off.
It's the hardest thing I had to do was like get off dopamine essentially. And I wasn't even that addicted. It was like maybe an hour a day, which for some people are like, oh, that's nothing. I mean, now I spend like 7 minutes total online a day. Outside of like emails and file transfers.
Yeah.
But the kid who's just starting, like, you need to set some expectations of what are you trying to really do? What I always tell people, like, make your dream life. Like, write it out. What does the perfect day look like for you? And then usually they figure out that most of it doesn't cost money. It's like, oh, I'd like to work out, or I'd like to meditate, or I'd like to cook food or walk my dog, or some people might have some expensive things like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of too, like with money and wealth and experience, think maybe I want to live on the beach and then I want to go shop at Gucci every day. It's like, I always encourage people, this gets into manifestation, but like, go then try that thing out. And most of the time you'll learn you actually didn't want that thing.
That's, I mean, my dad always said this, like, when I was getting into the music thing or whatever, he's like, don't you want to like try this? Like, go get another job. Right. Just try. Like, he's like, I'm not saying you have to do it, but just like, you don't know what you like until you do it.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of trial and error.
So many people, like, I think even like look at like the lives you or I have of like, oh, you make music all day, like must be the dream. And it's like, it's not always glamorous. And like also like, you don't know until you're in it. Like, I mean, and you and I have had that where it's like,
that's how I landed.
You get into it and then you're like miserable and you're like, wait, I didn't want, like, I can't sit at home all day just doing music. Like I need to get, or I need a boss. Like I need to like, so you don't always know until you do something. And I think that's like some people's thing is they fantasize about this
most
thing
of
they
us,
want,
we romanticize almost everything, which is fine. That's kind of like the initial, motivation, which is a fleeting thing when it's emotion based, like that kind of gets you off your butt. Like I got into music because I got emotionally charged from seeing a band one day. Yeah. Like that's probably my earliest memory of being like, whoa, like I saw Jimmy Eat World or somebody like perform and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I gotta be in a band. I got in a band and I was like, this is gonna be so cool. And then it is so cool and it's so not cool at the same time. And I'm a master. I never thought I'd be a mastering engineer ever. I didn't know what that was when I was like, I'm going to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Like, that was just like 14 years ago.
I mean, that's an interesting like fork in the story too. Right. Like for you, I guess, like to put that in the perspective of like, I guess people might look at what you do and be like, oh, you just always loved mastering.
That's what people think.
No, I wanted to be the lead singer of a band.
Yeah, I wanted to be a Coldplay or One Republic, and
the mastering is almost you settling in a weird way. Not saying that.
No,
but like,
there's an interesting, I think why I believe like everybody just wants money on some level, which it won't always make you happy, but I got into mastering because of money. Like, I had just gotten married.
I mean, that's how I got into mixing.
Broke.
Like, I mean, we've talked about that where it's like I accidentally fell into it. Like, I knew I wanted to do music, but then all I could do at the time was like mix because I didn't have the space or time. And now here I am 7 years later. Just
you're doing it.
Doing the thing. Anyway, keep going.
But that's, I basically somehow at that time in my life, 21, 14, 15 years ago, like I just watched the studio guys we had hired to do our record, and I was like, well, shoot, mastering. This dude like mastered our record in like 1 hour and got paid like $2,000. And I was like, wait, what is this gig about? What is this?
You were wired for capitalism to begin with.
Yeah, motivated by money because we were poor. Like, I mean, when my wife and I got married, we lived in my band's not my house, a house we were rented in Chicago, 6 people in one house. My first year of marriage was a 10 by 10 bedroom, shared a bathroom with my wife's ex-boyfriend, who's the drummer in my band. That was my first year of marriage. And we made negative money, and it was terrible. It was also awesome. Everything's good and bad. Everything's great. But that was like my start. And I think it was such a rough go that then I was like, surely I had a thought too of like, there are people that make money in this life.
Yeah.
And there's people that do music. Like the guys who did our record, very successful, like financially. Like,
Yeah.
had a full-blown studio, had a beautiful house in Chicago. And I just kept thinking, these guys got to be making at least, back then I was like 100K. They're probably making more than that to do the lifestyle they had. But the light bulb clicked, was like, well, shoot, if that guy works an hour and gets $2,000, like if I could just be quarter that good, if I could work 4 hours and make the 2,000, then I'm still like crushing it financially.
Are you more motivated by money or by art?
Power, money or power?
Money or art?
Oh, money or art. I'm definitely motivated by money. 100%.
Yeah.
It allows me to create the art and give people better products. I'm positive of that. I know that for a fact.
That's such an interesting perspective, because like I feel like immediately, like let's say you steal that snippet right there, and
that's fine.
You say it, and I feel like people would be like, oh, shocked, like, oh, what?
Right.
He doesn't care about the art, but like you save it by saying like, no, like the money allows me to create the art, and I think that's where so many people are like slaves to their own beast. So it's like, no, I don't care about the money, it's about the art, and like.
Well, it's
such an interesting line, because like they dance in such an interesting way between the money and the art. Like you need money to make the art, but like art also requires money. I don't.
Well, I was just gonna say that goes into my, if I'm allowed to, 2 truths at one time. I love art. Yeah. I love it. I would say I love it as much as money, but I love money more because I've understood how it allows me to create. Even this conversation has cost me $300. I lost $300 by being here for an hour or two. Like,
damn.
That's the reality. This cost me something, but because I've been smart with money and sought out people who make money and then learn how to invest into more asset producing things beyond music, it allows me to say, yeah, Josh, come over for 2 hours, 3 hours, no problem. And like, then still execute later today how I need to at the level I need to, because I have great tools, a great room to work in that allows me to master twice as fast as most people. Yeah. And better. And it's not all about, none of this is about urgency either. Like, I don't want anyone to hear like, I hate urgency. It's just about understanding like the discipline creates the freedom, and the money creates the freedom to create better. Yeah. It allows me to be free. That's my whole long-term goal, like free studio, is like I've found in my life when money is not always I still need money, but when it's not the most pressing thing,
it frees up
your brain. But that's the power of a budget. That's the power of you taking control of your reality and money.
I mean, it feels like, I mean, I was going to ask the question, I already know the answer. It's like, what do you think is more important, money or art? Long term, maybe.
I think you can't. I would almost say like you can't have art without money, of course. But you and I could just sing a song. I
mean, I was going to say like
it doesn't.
But I think
cost us
using
anything.
the logic and kind of the conversation we've been having is like, I would almost say money is more important. But when you view it as a tool that allows you to create the art, like there's the, you don't become a slave to the money. You just have to have the discipline around it to have the money that then allows you to have the freedom to create the art.
And I'm not a slave to money at all. Like we can't, this isn't even a sob story. We just, like most people, you grow up without money. You're not
Sure.
And even now, like there's way more wealthy people, but I've figured out a way, and I think I've helped, you and other people, like you can you learn that what you want is tangible, and then you learn that what you do has value. And so that you make money off that, and then people take that product and they make money off that. And that's just, that's the society we're in. And for most people out there, like, you all want money. And I'm so sick of, I'm just so tired of like the denial of reality.
Yeah.
And when people are like, oh, I hate rich people, or like a few years ago when everybody was just like, eat the rich and all this stuff. And it's like, are there things happening that are bad at companies? Yes. Is that good? No. But that's a different conversation. If those things were solved, would you still be mad that Jeff Bezos is worth X amount of billions of dollars? If you learned he corrected everything, all the employees are now getting paid $40 an hour.
Yeah.
And they can work only 6 hours, and they get an hour break.
Which at that point, enough's never enough.
Correct. Because that's never...
6 hours is too much.
Yeah, because then...
45 an hour.
Right. So it's... all this idea that wealth is bad, and people out there are like, oh, they just shouldn't have that much money, and it always gets into, well, then how much money? And it's the same with music. How dynamic is too dynamic? What is it? How loud is too loud? We should have dynamic records. Well, what's the range? When does it become too dynamic, or when? None of it matters. No one knows anything. Like it. It just, the only way to know something is to put context and boundaries around something and put a measurable goal to it. And then I think you can create happiness out of that.
I love
and get
that.
somewhere.
I feel like we're nearing the end of this. I like this.
We could.
We should wrap it, I think.
If you would like to, or I can keep talking. Or you can talk.
What's your final? Give me like a closing. Give me a closing thought that doesn't have anything to do with what we talked about already.
My closing thought has nothing to do with anything we just talked about.
What do you want to say to the people who might listen?
I just want to tell everybody, like, you can do whatever you're wanting to do. I'm sure that has to do with what we talked about, but I want this to be encouraging. Like, you can do this. You can 100% do this. Like what I have done thus far, which is only like 12 years of work, you can do it too. You can do this. I don't know how else to say it. Like, if you want to become a producer, mixer, artist, master engineer, you can do this. And there is a process, though, in which you can do it. I
think the pushback that I would give, or just say to the people, is like, know what it is you want to do, though.
Correct.
Like I just don't think people know what they want to do. I don't know that I know what I want to do. Right. I don't know. That's I think the bigger issue is like, and I think that's where the insecurity is. Like, I think most people who like really know what it is they want to do end up doing it, because like when you're that aligned with like what you're supposed to be doing and doing, like it happens, But like, I feel like help but burst out of you and like happen.
I feel like I know what I want to do today and probably this year, but I have some definite long-term goals, but I'm very open to that changing too. Like, I didn't know I wanted to have a child till like 3 years ago.
Sure.
I didn't know I would ever wear a gold ring until
because
like my wife made something 5 years ago and was like, I like that.
But that's because, again, it's perspective, right? So it like changes with time, right?
Yeah.
So like you didn't think you wanted to have a kid until maybe you got to a point in your life where you're like, oh, like everything, like financials are cool. I got like the house, and like now I'm kind of like maybe bored or something, and it's like, what's next?
Well, I mean, I wanted to have a kid. A big part was like, I felt like I had experienced what I wanted to.
Sure.
As not being a father in this finite life we have. And a lot of it was like, I'd like to experience life now as a father. And what does that open up as far as expansion of
it's
joy?
Like a video game, like unlocking the new level.
Correct.
And it's like you weren't ready for that level yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't jump to the final boss, like, because you didn't beat level 1. Like, level 1 is training you for like.
And that's like with people starting out, it's like where you want to be is great, your goal, whatever you put down, but you're not ready for it today.
Oh, I say that all the time. I like looking back at my career, even, and you've said this a million times, we've talked about this, but like, the work that I wanted back then, I couldn't even open the session. Probably, you know what I mean? Like, I get sessions now that, like, looking back, I'm like, wow, this is the work I wanted. And then I open it and I'm like, my computer wouldn't have even, I would have shit the beds immediately.
Right.
Like,
you
I
wouldn't
couldn't
even know how to communicate with someone that had 10 years on you. Potentially.
Could I've faked it and tried to make it? Maybe, but like, and you just don't realize that, I think, because you just...
Yeah, that's like, you can do this, but you need patience and you need a plan and you need to understand that...
Patience is a big one.
Things take time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't... That's the other thing. It doesn't take that much time. Like it feels like a lot of time, this idea of time, I'm going to butcher it, but I had read somewhere where it was like, as you get older, the length of time feels shorter because you've experienced the percentage of it.
I think I told you
or
that.
maybe you told me that.
It's like there's
that was
actually
years ago.
There's like a infograph thing that you could like watch, and it's because as you get older, time becomes technically like, it's again like a logarithmic thing, not actually like linear, right? You know? So
so when you're 1 and then you turn 2, that's like 50% of your time.
Yeah, like when you're 1, the longest time frame is 1 year. So as you get older, 1 year becomes shorter and shorter in perspective to now your lifetime, essentially.
If you live to be 100, that year is now just 1%. As before, when you started, it was 50%.
A minute feels like a second,
right?
You know, or like
But that's what, like with time, for me now looking back, I feel like it took me 6 to 7 years to really get mastering rolling, which felt a bit like an eternity and was not quote unquote easy. But now, like 12 years into it, I'm like, well, that was such a blip to now be 35 in this situation, doing work I love with people I love, and also being able to provide for my family, you know, and allows me to also create with people better, in my opinion, and take on all sorts of projects that might not be full budget too. Like, it's just, now I just like chuckle when I wake up because I'm like, oh, I'm just getting started. Like,
I think there's such a weird thing, and I mean, I'm a bit younger than you, but like I think there's a weird thing too where younger kids are becoming more successful quicker too, which goes back to the technology thing. So like there feels like you're fighting the time thing.
Right.
Like, it feels like when you hit 30 or 40, it's like my life is over, and it's like there's this weird skewing of like young kids, like you need to be young to be successful, and like you look at that sometimes, and you look at some of these older people, or not older people, but you look at like people maybe who you look up to still, and you're like, oh wait, they're 50, they're 60, they're like, you know, like people who are in the spotlight still, like they're still very relevant, are older. So like there is time, like you're saying, and
there
you put
time,
that like as a 20-year-old even, it's like you're still kicking at 40, and that's double your lifetime now, and you're an adult, so it's like, you know.
Well, yeah, as I get closer to 40, I'm like, oh, that's, you know, when I was 20, I was like 40, ancient, you know. And now I'm
that's me with 30. I'm like,
that's how I was 30.
Boy,
but it really, you do have a lot more time than you think.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's just so hard when you're starting. I mean, telling like a 20-year-old, like, oh, patience and like you have time. I listened to a podcast like this when I was 20, I'm sure. And I was like, nah, like old fart.
Yeah.
Must be nice. Oh, must be nice to sit in that house and like, ooh, talk about money. Oh, it's so great. I'm trying to like pay, you know, like I felt that way at 20 or 18 or 20, even when we first few years of marriage, like, it's as it goes, no one knows anything. Like, it's just so funny. And it's almost like you just have to experience it yourself. I think there's wisdom you can apply on some level, but it's all the cliche things of like, you know, the best like teacher is like just life experience, or like hitting rock bottom is like the best way to learn. And
unfortunately, that's
I mean,
that's the only way to kind of do it, is to like,
my rock bottom was the best. I feel like I've had two, and like they were the definitely ultimate caveat for change, and to be here today was because of that.
Yeah.
And it's always like a death and a rebirth. And now I think I'll even have, I don't think I'll ever have like rock bottoms again, but I'll definitely have like death rebirths of seasons. And I can see those cycles now much better that I've been through like 30.
A lot, how like the world ends.
Yeah. Yeah. How the world ends.
It's
just all a big cycle. It's a circle of life. Lion King.
I love it.
So anyway, for people out there, like, you can do it, but you need to have patience. And, you know, in 10 years, you might go back to this and be like, oh, those two guys were kind of right. That's neat. It'll hit you differently in 10 years, I promise.
Sam.
Josh.
This is fun.
This was fun.
Thanks for hanging.
Thank you for chatting.
Till next time, I guess.
Love you.
Okay. Peace.
Peace.